वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
What we saw was the first aspect of Karma Yoga is Swadharma, so Samanya Dharma and Swadharma. Okay, so that means when I choose an action, I do take into account both Samanya Dharma and Swadharma. Okay. Now the other aspect of Karma Yoga, which is mentioned in the next verse, we saw that what is the Sthita Prajna's relationship with Kama. Okay? What did we see? That he is able to manage Kamas. Right? Why? Because of number of reasons. He has one, understanding of Dharma. Second is when the results come, he is able to see that the order gives the result, so keeps certain composure. The third is what? Understands the value of every object, what it can do and what it cannot do. And the fourth one, if no object can solve your problem, then what will solve your problem, which is knowing your true nature. Okay? So all these four are involved. Okay? And the verse which was about describing Sthita Prajna, it covered all these different aspects. Okay? So, Prajahati Yada Kaman. Then we saw that the next verse, which is talking about Jnani, is another very interesting verse, and that is, we will see, Dukheshu nadvigna manaha, Sukheshu vigatasruhaha, Vitaraga bhaya krodaha, Sitadhir muniruchyate. So here we will chant after Dukheshu anudvigna manaha,
दुःखेष्वनुद्विग्नमनाः
Sukheshu vigatasruhaha,
सुखेषु विगतस्पृहः
Vitaraga bhaya krodaha,
वीतरागभयक्रोधः
Siddhadir muniruchyate.
स्थितधिर्मुनिरुच्यते.
Okay. So now this Munihi Uchyate, this person is called Muni. Who is this Muni? Muni is Manana Shilaha Yaha. Okay? The one who has that contemplative mind, who has taken the initiative in working on oneself. It doesn't just happen automatically. So this is where he says Dukkheshu Anudvigna Manaha. Okay? So that means we think that this Munihi is also Sthita Prajna. Please understand, right? There are no two individuals. This Munihi he has not just become Sthita Prajna, the knower of the truth, a wise person, just like that. He has done it through what? Manana. Manana means contemplating, removing doubts about reality, that initiative the person has taken, okay, to become Sthita Prajna. In the process of this contemplation, the person has done what? Dukheshu anudvigna manaha. Dukheshu means when there is dukkha. We are not denying dukkha. Dukheshu, when there is dukkha. This is what Anand was saying, that we are not talking about eliminating dukkha, we are talking about managing dukkha. Dukheshu, while there is dukkha, the emotion of dukkha may be there. Either you can get totally sunk in the dukkha or you can learn how to manage it. So this whole Gita psychology is, he understands different emotions, right? He understands that dukkha as an emotion is unavoidable, okay? But how you handle that emotion is entirely up to you, okay? Either that feeling of dukkha, which is, there is an external stimuli, you lose somebody very dear to you. There is an external stimuli, the human brain is designed to have dukkha. That is a response. Okay? So that means there is certain dukkha. It is not like any other day when you lose somebody who is very dear to you. Okay? But are you going to get totally depressed and totally dysfunctional and totally caught by your dukkha, or you are able to put your dukkha in perspective and move on? Okay? That is something which is within your choice. Okay? So this is what he is talking about. That person has done this job. Okay? It doesn't happen automatically. Nobody can just, because generally dukkha has a tendency to what? Totally preoccupy you. What happens is, one dukkha, which is sorrow, will lead to what? Series of thoughts which will build up this whole big dukkha. And you get so identified with this whole big picture that you have created, and you become dysfunctional. Okay? Now, the person is able to, without denying that dukkha, the emotion, what? Put this whole dukkha in perspective. Okay? How much is it self-enhancing? Around this story, there is, around this event, there is a whole big story built. In that story, there are so many inherent logics, which are faulty logics. If I want to keep away from building a story, what do I need to do? The story which gets built up, what do I need to do? Look at each step of the story and see, are all these conclusions and connections which I have made, how valid are they? That is the only way to get rid of all our tendency to just build stories. Stay with your story. See each part. Check the validity of each part. Okay? And correct it if there is some distortion. Nobody else can do it for you. You have to do it for yourself, because each one has a unique logic and each one has a unique whatever, right? You tell yourself, each one tells different things. So the teacher cannot look at all the permutations and combinations and do a solving of equation. The teacher can only give you a framework. Say, hey, now this is the thing, now this is what you have to do. After that, you have to do that job. The teacher cannot do it for you. Right? So therefore, each one has to have insight into one's own mind. Okay? What is leading for me to, there is something Surya calls in that subjectivity module that we give, he gives something called what we call ladder of inference. How one event occurs and you create a huge story around it, and what are the steps that you actually implicitly go through to make that inference. Okay? Once you begin to realize that these are chain of inferences that I am making, then what? You begin to see at each part, where is it corresponding to reality and where is it which is your own projection. Okay? If it is your own projection, what do? You correct it. Very easy. You correct it. Once you correct one, then what? It will also affect the other things in chain. Okay? This is the only way to deal with your dukkha. There is no other way. There is no shortcut. No teacher can give you a pill, a happiness pill, and say, now take this and you will be happy. Okay? Or if you are trying to solve this dukkha problem, through knowing Brahman, right? The dukkha is happening at what level? Mithya level. Mithya level has mithya logic. Right? You have to understand that this particular mithya has what? Works with what? The cause-effect relationship. Like how Anand was saying, this lakhs of years of programming, we are unable to just undo. There are laws. You can't just eliminate. Try to eliminate. Everybody wants to eliminate, but nobody can. The only way to do it is look at certain distortions which are right now taking place in your buddhi, which gives it a bigger picture than what it is. Once you identify those distortions, you can undo them much more easily, right? And this is why the whole focus here is realities. You adjust your thinking to what is and not what you think what is. Okay? So this is where you take out the intensity of dukkha.
That's right.
And don't get drowned in your dukkha. Because that drowning in the dukkha has external stimuli. Emotion is something that happens. Okay? But there is a long process which makes it unbearable for you. And that process you need to look into it. Right? So this is how the person has worked on it. And therefore, what is the result? He is able to manage dukkha. Dukkheshu anudvikmanaha. Dukkha happens. But the person is not totally sunk in dukkha. Sukheshu vigata spruhaha. Okay? Sukha is another thing that what is generally we think sukha is not a problem. Okay? Everybody actually wants happiness. Here he says, even keeping a certain perspective in sukha. Why do you need to keep a certain perspective in sukha?
So that your dukkha doesn't look too different.
So you can get out of it, you know.
Yeah. See, generally, sukha itself, you have happiness, which is good. Nobody is trying to deny that happiness. Everybody looks, in fact, if you did not have any experience of happiness, our teacher says everybody would have committed suicide by now.
Correct.
Everybody looks for experiences of happiness, and we need not what? Deny those experiences of happiness. Okay? But to put them in perspective means, generally when things are going my way, what happens? There is a possibility that I develop this whole illusion of control. Okay? I may start thinking that I control things, and I'm the one who commands everything.
I'm Ishvara of Ishvara.
I'm Ishvara of Ishvara. Right? This is a distortion. Okay? Once a distortion sets in, what does the law do? Indicates, hey, there is a distortion. How does it indicate to you that there is a distortion?
By disturbing your stability.
Exactly, by disturbing your stability. Right? Exactly. This is the mechanism through which the universe talks to you. Okay? So this is where keeping things in perspective is so important, because that's good for my sanity. Okay? So this is where you say that, okay, I have got success, which is very good. I have happiness, which is very good. No, you're not trying to resist it or deny it, okay? But you keep your happiness in perspective. Okay? What is the perspective? I'm successful is very good. Good. It's good to have good self-esteem instead of thinking I'm no good. Okay? But along with success, there is a possibility of what? A distortion, which is what? Pride.
Correct.
A healthy self-esteem is healthy. You need it. Okay? But pride is a distortion. So what accounts? Then the teacher can easily say, oh, don't be proud. But that doesn't help anyone. Okay? The teacher at least my teacher, this is my teacher, and this is why I like Vedanta. Okay? He makes me look into why the pride comes. Not just tell me, don't be proud. Okay? You analyze what is the source of pride and correct the distortion. The pride will automatically go away. That is the trick. Okay? So the pride comes by thinking, I am the only person who has worked for this success. That means I start thinking I am somebody. What is the reality? How many people have worked for that success to come? Countless people have worked, they have contributed. Okay? The minute you recognize that there are countless people who have contributed to my success, what is going to be your mindset?
Gratitude.
Gratitude. All neocortical emotions based on understanding, re-understanding the world, removing your distortions. Okay? Gratitude. You are not denying your success. You are not saying, I'm nobody. Oh, that false humbleness is something which is not required. Okay? I'll just give you an example. When I just initially came to know my teacher, I used to, ask him many questions because I did have many questions. And he told me one day, you're really smart. Okay? And what was my reaction? No, Swamiji, I'm not. He says, why are you denying it? Own up your smartness. You are smart. Say I'm smart. But attribute it to grace of Ishvara. Thank Ishvara for it. That way, you don't deny certain qualities that you have, but you don't become proud.
Correct.
Because you recognize that there is this whole big law which is operating, which is making your mind what it is. And you thank, and you ask for more clarity, and you ask for more intelligence to that law. This is how you build self-esteem. You are in touch with Ishvara, right? You keep what? Yourself from being proud. You work at so many levels to have a healthy psyche. Okay? So this is what this sukha is also put in perspective. When you give due importance to everybody else who have contributed to your success, you have a good self-esteem. You don't need to put yourself down. And you also recognize the order within which all this is taking place, and you thank that too. You keep your success in perspective. Sukheshu vigataspruhaha. Okay? Vita raga bhaya krodaha. We have already seen raga, the desires. What? Vita does not mean totally gone. What does it mean? It's managed well. Okay? Bhaya and krodaha is exactly the same. Bhaya as an emotion, fear, is something which is what? Instinctive emotion which is useful for you to survive. Okay? At night you see the boar, here, big fat boars. You have just come out from Vedanta class and you say everything is one, all forms are mithya. Let me go and embrace that boar because it's me. Right? Mithya world has what? Its own rule, that the forms are different.
There you have to go in freeze.
Exactly.
Let the boar pass.
Yes. Right? Mithya world means Mithya world has rules. Don't apply absolute reality to Mithya world. You are changing. You are creating a confusion. Okay? So that means there is a mechanism which is Ishvara's creation to give you fear.
Yes.
This is Ishvara. The brain comes with that programming which enables you to appropriately respond to that situation.
Because that's a biological danger.
That's a biological conditioning. There is a huge sophisticated programming of Ishvara there. Okay? So therefore, you will either freeze or flight. And that is the rational thing to do. Okay? So we are not talking about total elimination of fear. What then are we talking about? We are talking about there are some other fears which are what we call psychological fears, psychosocial fears. Okay? Those psychosocial fears are what? Again, our own picture of what the world in which I am living. Okay? Imagine there is a fact that your loved one is going to go. There are some people who cannot handle. Before that person is gone, for years they suffer from what? The fear of the loss.
Yeah.
Years. Okay? The event has not occurred yet, and you have suffered for how long? So long. Okay? And your mind, which is caught in that fear, is available to make some rational decisions? No. Because you have created a framework for you. Inbuilt in that is a distortion.
Mark Twain once said that my life is full of misfortunes.
Yeah.
My life is full of misfortunes, most of which do not occur.
That's a good one. Very good.
The imagination that we have, it is a boon if we use it properly, and it can be what?
Nightmare.
A biggest nightmare if we don't know how to use it, because generally what happens is you always imagine the worst. And you also imagine yourself as stuck and there is no other way. This is why when people give hypothetical example where everything is unchangeable and everybody is bad and you're stuck, I don't even attempt to solve this hypothetical situation because the starting point itself is wrong. I don't need to enter into that mindset because that does not correspond to truth. Right? So therefore, it is something that a lot of our imagination takes us to scenarios which are so unrealistic, and then we think, now this is how things are. Or they are based on certain facts, but the facts are what? Magnified to an extent that I become dysfunctional. So all these tendencies are taken care of by who? Munihi, Mananashilaha. How does one take care of these fears at this whole building of pictures? Is there any magic stone that the teacher says, okay, now, here, come to me, I will do this thing and you will get rid of all your fears? You have to again do your job. You need to look into your mind. Again, the same thing. The framework remains the same. As it is for Krodha, there it is for what? Sadness, Bhaya. There are lots and lots of inbuilt assumptions which are invalid. You need to look into that and you need to adjust your thinking in keeping with reality. Unless you do that, nobody can help you. because that is your job with reference to your mind. This is what we say, you need to prepare your mind. Nobody just becomes a Sthita Prajna automatically. The person has gone through all of this. Whole process of working on oneself, one's own angers, one's own fears, one's own relationship with different objects which manifest as desires, dukkha, sukha. It is not about eliminating them, it is all about managing them. And the only way to manage them is what? Align your buddhi to realities and not your own projections. That is the only way. Everything else is just a lip service. In the truth is the answer. Right? So this is where this job each one has to do. Nobody can escape it. Okay? So this is what the person has done, and it gives us what? It gives us hope that I can also do for myself. Understand, you take one step, the universe will help you.
The universe is never judgmental.
Exactly. Right? Because the universe, behind the universe, we will see there is Ishvara. And we will look into the nature of Ishvara. Okay? There is one thing that I want to say, which is very important. A lot of people ask us that when Gita talks about taking care of bhaya, krodha, sadness, having proper perspective on sukha and dukkha, how or if it is different from psychology? This is a question many people ask us. Okay? So, there are two differences. We take a lot from psychology, that is true. But there are two very important differences. One is this whole big picture of reality about who you are. Psychology doesn't have that perspective. Right? So the second bird that he was talking about, he was only referring to neocortical, right? That is a proper emotions. When we talk about the second bird, what are we talking about?
Talking about the ultimate being,
The ultimate
awareness.
reality. Okay? So that means the framework within which a modern psychology works, that is what it gives reality to this individuality as the reality. The framework within which Vedanta talks about what? Taking care of one's emotion. The ultimate solution is where? Knowing the truth of yourself.
Yes.
Right? So that is a different framework. That individuality is not negated by Vedanta, but it is seen as a relative reality about you. That is a difference. The second difference is Vedanta has Ishvara.
That's right.
Psychology doesn't necessarily have to take the Ishvara.
It does not.
It does not have Ishvara.
Can't say.
They have the doctor.
Maybe
Sorry?
it is God.
They have the doctor.
They have the doctor, exactly. The doctor acts. The doctor acts as Ishvara.
No, if there was Ishvara, then there would be no doctor. So that's why they deny the existence of the Ishvara.
So Neema, can you say that psychology stays within the realm of mithya without giving you another deeper
Right.
connection,
Exactly.
anchor,
Right.
or peg, or whatever,
Absolutely.
right?
And even within Mithya Niru, everything is seen as just, that it doesn't give you a perspective that all this Mithya is a manifestation of Ishvara.
Right. So, yeah.
So there are two
There are
things,
two
Yes.
things. Yes.
right?
Yes.
So therefore, what we are talking about incorporates psychology, but it talks about it from a much broader perspective than only psychology. Okay? Because psychology is one of the manifestation of order of Ishvara.
So you're only in that little minute
Exactly.
space.
And the manifestation of Ishvara, the order is what? Karma, dharma, physical, biological, so many different orders which are within Ishvara. Right? So the framework that Vedanta uses to give you sanity is a much broader and a much more sane framework. Because it takes the view of reality from a much broader perspective. Okay? So
Yes.
therefore, ultimately, our teacher says that you have to, if you want to know the realities, you have to settle account with Ishvara. Ultimately, right, all these bhaya and krodha and all that you are stuck with, over which you are helpless, you do all your job of trying to look at your distortions, you try to overcome that and all of that. But still at times what somebody was saying, it keeps coming back. It's not that you always are very successful in doing all of this. But if you recognize Ishvara, what do? You add a prayer and ask for help. Because when you are helpless, and if there is this intelligence which has all the laws, which is manifesting in form of all the laws, you ask for help through a prayer. Help me to get over this. In spite of my trying, I fall back into my mechanical thinking. I continue to try, use my free will, and I ask for help. Okay? A much broader framework within which I can resolve my issues. Okay? And ultimately, my vision of the world is everything is fair. Everything is what?
As it should be.
Yeah. Not that things are unfair and I'm somehow trying to manage. The world view is different. When you have Ishvara in form of series of orders, which is already arranging the universe in the most perfect manner, you don't try to be Ishvara. You relax in the presence of Ishvara.
You specifically ask for help.
Yes.
Specific, but you don't.
Specific.
But you don't say what you want.
You can say what you want. You can say exactly what you want. This priest could have just said for her to get married. The priest was very precise. He said, Shigrat Shigram. He wants what? As soon as possible. He adds an adjective. Right? Then he says, not only just marriage, Suvivaha. Good marriage.
Shubha Mangala.
Shubha Mangala. Right? Then he says, what do you need for good marriage? He specifies it further.
Okay.
All the wealth, friendship,
Ananda.
Anand, happiness,
Santushti.
Santushti. He goes on specifying
Samriddhi.
Samriddhi. He dissects it. Asks exactly what, not just marriage.
What requirement of marriage and sustain the marriage.
Exactly. What all is involved in having a sustained and a good marriage? You ask for it, why not?
Or relationship, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in fact, it gives it a structure.
It gives it a structure.
You also come to know what
You
you
come to
exactly
know
want.
what you want. Exactly.
The Shastra has already prescribed that.
For what you have to get ready.
Or he
what you
himself
have to get
creates a
ready.
sankalpa with his own wisdom as to what I am looking for.
No, he by empirical experience has codified what people have been asking for.
Yeah, and through his own experience of marriage, what is required for a good marriage, right?
What people are looking for.
What people are looking for.
Relationship,
And
yeah.
you ask for everything that you are looking for. What do you lose?
What you lose.
Yeah, you don't lose anything, right? But when somebody is asking you to ask, think well. Ask for everything. Don't eliminate things.
Sometimes
So that
they say God
Ishvara-
says, so be it.
Yeah, exactly, right? When you have Ishvara, there is a huge, big, whole different dimension to your psychological sanity.
Absolutely. And what I gather is that the individual psychology looks at human being, I mean that individual, as a unit.
Yeah.
So whereas in this framework of Vedanta, you are given your due as an individual, but you see yourself in a flow of culture, in a flow of time, in a flow of
Part
things,
of the whole.
and a part of a whole which psychology does not see.
Exactly. Absolutely. Right? So this is where we say, now from this understanding of Ishvara, the next verse is saying comes Prasada Buddhi. Okay? So here he says, Prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirasyopajayate prasanna chetaso hyashu buddhir paryavatishtate. So here, what is prasada? Prasada is a technical term. Puran can go and look at the dictionary.
It is grace
Yeah.
of God.
Grace of God.
You already said
Okay.
it.
He's already
prepared.
Okay, prepared. He's come prepared.
No, I am a dictionary addict.
Okay.
And if you come and look at my bookshelf, there are at least 9.
Okay.
So what do you do? It's so individual orientation.
Okay, so now that's why now he's going to be my dictionary meaning person. Right now I know.
Live dictionary.
Live dictionary. Okay. So grace of God. Right? So this is something, prasada is a technical term. What comes from Ishvara is prasada. Okay? Any situation that comes to us, right? If we look at the situation, then what? What is, if it is not according to what we are looking for, how do we perceive that situation?
Difficulty,
Difficult, challenge,
calamity.
calamity. We give all kinds of words which are what? Almost scary words.
Yeah.
Right? Here you say everything which comes to me, as Surya says in meditation class, is anything outside Ishvara. The time is within Ishvara, the space is within Ishvara, every form is within Ishvara, the relationship between the forms is within Ishvara. All the connections that are there, they're all within Ishvara. So that means every situation that has come to me has dropped just like that. It has also come from Ishvara. Right? Ishvara in form of all these different laws which are producing this situation in front of me. Okay. If it has come from Ishvara, what is my attitude? What is this? Prasada is that which comes from Ishvara. if the situation prasade sarva dukkhanam hani rasyo pajayate. Okay? If I take every situation as coming from this complex web of Ishvara, which is infallible, what will I do?
Accept it gracefully.
Accept it gracefully. Okay? When you accept it gracefully, it does not then mean that you are passive and you don't do anything. Because your free will is also prasada of Ishvara. Right? That means, what do? This situation is something which has come, I cannot avoid. Once it has come, I cannot avoid it. But how I respond to it is within my sphere of influence. So that means the buddhi that I have is prasada from Ishvara. The free will that this buddhi enjoys is also prasada from Ishvara. My capacity to meet with any difficult situations with certain amount of tranquility, I have that capacity, is also what? A potential given to me by Ishvara. What do? I collapse that potential. Ishvara's grace all the way. Every situation is an opportunity for you to grow, to look at things differently, deal with situations differently. Then, if this is your view, then life is become what? Series of opportunities for you to grow. From calamities, failures, what are all the different words that we used against unfavorable situation? What do we convert it into? Opportunities for me to grow. There is always a possibility that I can look at things differently, act differently, and I grow in the process. Okay? So therefore, from this overwhelming, the tendency to be overwhelmed by situation, what do? I look for ways to, hey, this is a challenge, lovely, now let me think about what can I do. Prasade sarva dukkhanam hani rasyopajayate prasanna chetasa. Prasanna chetasa means you become cheerful, not loaded by heaviness of life. Okay? We are not talking about a person who, the spiritual person is made into nihilist. If you don't understand spirituality, the world is no good, the world has no pleasure. Okay? Look for something else. Okay? Re-understand the world with wisdom, and nothing is a problem. You become cheerful. Cheerful because every situation that comes to you is an opportunity for you to grow and to become better. You become one day so big that nothing is a problem anymore. What is our representation of Lord Krishna? If you look at his life, what is his life? Very difficult life. He was born in a jail, very difficult. Growing up, not with his real parents, but somebody else. His own uncle wanted to kill him. All these Rakshasas that are trying to kill him. Okay, series of difficulties. Okay, and how is he? Flute. Flute. He's not even standing straight and saying, I'm following Dharma and all very nice, elegant. I love this word, this elegant thoughts. I love this word. Okay? There is so much beauty in this Ishvara, there is elegance. Every time there is truth, it is elegant. Subtle, refined, not crude. Okay? And his whole posture is elegant, his music is elegant, his whole demeanor is elegant, his capacity to deal and navigate through situations, assess is all elegant, elegance all the way. What gives him that? Situations are difficult, the wisdom. And what is very important is Lord Krishna says, a gnani is equivalent to me. So it's not that he is somewhere and you always have to be what? Somebody down below asking for his mercy. He elevates gnani as same as him. Any human being can grow to an extent that what? Can deal with situations without getting overwhelmed by it. It makes you empowered. This is a teacher. The teacher is not the one who judges you and says you should not do this and you should not do this, and if you are doing this you are not a wise person. What kind of a teacher is that? The teacher makes you grow to be that individual who can take care of things. By showing you how. Okay? So this is what it says, that once you have a different outlook to life, once you look upon situations not with the labels that we generally give, but as an opportunity, what is the mindset? Prasanna Chetasa. Cheerfulness. It comes naturally. Okay? Because all the loads are given up. Okay? So this is what he says, and buddhi paryavatishtate. Buddhi, which has understood things differently, that is guiding your decision making.
So your cognition is consistent and stable.
Absolutely. Right? Your capacity to judge is so mature over the years because of practice. It's not a struggle anymore. Okay? More and more responsive, the mind which responds, less and less what? Mechanical, reactive mind. This is your growth. You can do it. Okay? So this is what he says, buddhihi paryavatishtate. There is manas, which is the immediate instinct. Buddhi is what? All the wisdom that you have. There is generally a fight between what? The instinct and the buddhi. Sometimes the instinct takes over, sometimes the buddhi prevails. Here, more and more buddhi prevails. Instincts are managed. Okay? This is what, and then there comes cheerfulness. Right? Now, in order to get this knowledge and necessary maturity for it, there are two lifestyles which are possible. Okay? So Lord Krishna is talking about two lifestyles. Now what are the pursuits? Please understand. One is the pursuit of the knowing of the absolute reality, and second is the pursuit of what? Initiating all these self-growth, in light of which, what? This knowledge will not only be understood correctly, but what? You can have a proper perspective and your actions do not contradict. Right? What you understand. this job is necessary. Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra. Brahma Vidya is knowing yourself to be this Brahman, and Yoga Shastra is what? Working on your emotions
In the relative world.
in the relative world. Okay? Looking into the distortions and undoing those distortions, bringing Ishvara in life. All this work cannot be avoided. Okay? Now, in order to do these two things, there are two lifestyles which are enjoined by the Veda. So, Bhagavan is saying, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Vacha Lokesmin Vividha Nishtha Pura Prokta Maya Naga
Pura Prokta Maya Naga
Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam
Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam
Karma Yogena Yoginam.
Karma Yogena Yoginam.
So Lord Krishna is saying, in order to get this Brahma Vidya in maturity, there are two lifestyles that are possible. One is life of Karma Yoga, and the other one is Sankhyanam, Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam, which is what we call sannyasis. Okay? So two lifestyle. One is you continue to stay in the world, pursue knowledge and work for your maturity. The second possibility is what? Leave everything, become a sannyasi. Okay? Both lifestyles are possible. Why those lifestyles? For what those lifestyles? All that we will see in the next class.
So in the next class, can you also tell us the difference between a sannyasi and vairagi?
So Vairagya is just, yeah, okay, I will just. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.